Welcome to Season 2 of the Panther Podcast. We're continuing to tell the story of the Panthers, which are the faculty, administration, student body, alumni, and community who make up the Brookhaven School District in Brookhaven, Mississippi. In addition to the new episodes hosted by Superintendent Dr. Rod Henderson, you'll also enjoy behind-the-scenes documentary episodes along with promotional and educational videos that showcase various departments. Everything you see and hear are noteworthy pieces to the huge puzzle making up the Brookhaven School District. Watch, listen, and enjoy as the story continues into the 2024-2025 school year.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Panther Podcast. I'm Dr. Rod Henderson, Superintendent of the Brookhaven School District, and I have as my guest today, Coach Preston Wilson. How you doing, brother?
Nice to be here with you.
Yes, sir. As always, I like starting off talking about backgrounds of the individuals that we have on today. And so if you would, just tell us about your background, everything you want us to know, and then we'll get into your journey into the field of education.
Well, I'm originally from a small town in Louisiana called Gibbsland, which is located about 20 miles west of Ruston and Grambling area. I played high school basketball there, college and high school baseball there, and was fortunate enough to play on 2 state championships in basketball. And from there, attended Louisiana Tech University, where I was fortunate to play college baseball. And while at Louisiana Tech University, played on 2 conference championships in baseball. And from there, I graduated from Louisiana Tech and found myself in Mississippi.
So, and a lot of people don't know that about you. You have a deep background in baseball, you know, and in itself, coaching-wise, did you ever coach baseball?
I did.
Okay.
When I first, my first full-time job was at Crystal Springs High School, and I coached baseball there, and also assisted baseball when I first got here to Brookhaven School District.
Now, Louisiana Tech is right next door to Grambling, where I went to school at, and we spent a lot of time on Tech's campus. And recently, I was able to go through there again, and they've done a lot of renovations in the baseball field they have there now. It's wonderful.
Yes, a lot of those renovations took place after the tornado that came through the area, and they've put in a lot of money into the athletic facilities during that time, and it's really a state-of-the-art type of facilities now that they do have at Louisiana Tech University.
It is. So you make your way to Crystal Springs, and what allowed you to make your way here to Brookhaven?
Well, I actually, Mr. Bailey.
Mordine Bailey.
Mordine Bailey. I was calling basketball at the time, and he was helping Coach Kimball here at Brookhaven, and he was telling me he was getting ready to retire, and I worked with his wife at Brandon Middle School when I was subbing there for a while. And when he was getting ready to retire, he told Coach Kimball about me, and Coach Kimball and I talked, and eventually the school district hired me, and Coach Kimball and I had a great relationship while he was here.
Let me get a little background on Mr. Bailey. Mr. Bailey was teaching here when I was coming through, and Mr. Bailey was an English teacher, and he lived in Jackson.
That's right.
And he drove back and forth for years down here. Mr. Bailey also coached track here. Now, he was a Kappa, so every day he would match. I mean, to the T, you know, everything matched to the T, and he always had that walk about himself. He didn't walk, he strutted. That's right. Basically. That was Mr. Bailey. But I learned a lot under Mr. Bailey. Mr. Bailey was a wonderful teacher, and always had something good to tell us as young men, you know. So that's the background on Mr. Bailey. So you make it here. And you're coaching under Coach Kimball, who was here also when he was head coach here when I was in school. And so at that time, you assisted under him.
That's correct.
But then he ends up leaving, right?
That's correct.
And at that point, that's when you step into the role of head coach.
1996.
96.
96, 97 season.
Okay.
I became the boys' head coach here at Brookhaven High School.
Now at that time, that's my first year. 96, 97 was my first year back in Brookhaven. From when I was at Bastrop. I started coaching and teaching in Bastrop in 95. You're familiar with the Bastrop area. So 96, 97 was my first year back here in Brookhaven. Do you remember anything about that first team? We always tend to remember that first team that we were head coaches of or something. Do you remember that?
That first team, of course, there were some challenges because you're trying to change the culture a little, and but we did have some great athletes in that group. Carlos Smith was in in that class, and of course we had some young juniors. Ladrick Simon was in that class, and then we had those young sophomores with Rod Dixon, Melvin Smith, and Chance Ransomford, who brought a lot to the team. And that year, I think we won 20+ games. We didn't make the playoffs, but we had a great season, and it was just a build up to the future seasons.
So you bring up the term culture, something that I'm really big on. From a coaching standpoint, in any type of organizational standpoint, before you can be successful, you have to build the culture up, and especially when it's you in charge. You have your own feelings and desires about the way you want your culture to look.
That's correct.
So just give me an idea of what you look for when you are trying to establish a certain culture, because like I said, that's very important. So what do you look for then?
Well, one of the biggest things that we look for is trying to make certain that we establish a family-oriented atmosphere, and make certain that each person understands that we've got to trust each other. We've got to understand that there are going to be differences, but at the same time, we want everything to stay as much as possible in-house, and not allow outside influences in on our situations. And so once they get a family culture, then there are things we try to do to make certain that we bond. We have cookouts. We try to do events together. And back then we often went to church together. And so those are always things that we try to do to establish the culture. And once they have trust in the coaching staff, and once they have trust in each other, then we usually can, start building from there to be successful.
You talk about the outside noise. And I found that one thing that's probably the hardest is keeping the focus and not allowing the outside noise to seep into your locker room and so on.
That's correct.
That's a difficult task. But how do you go about trying to make sure that doesn't happen?
And one of the biggest things now over the years that has changed, of course, is social media. And because everyone is on social media, coaching, athletic scholarships, everybody's concerned about that. Sometimes it's difficult to keep outside noise out of the program. But what we try to tell our players is that you have to be honest with yourselves. You have to be honest with the people around you, and if you need to be on the floor or not. If you need to be playing or not. What you bring to the program. And so the outside interference, we try to tell them you can't post. You got to be careful what you post. You got to be because at the end of the day, college coaches have people who are just paid to watch social media, and so we try to make certain that the outside noise stays to a limit. When there are concerns about it, we try to address it in-house to make certain that we all stay on the same page. But we've been fortunate not to have a lot of outside interference. Besides the norms, parents are upset because of playing time, those things. But most of the time, we've been able to bypass the outside noise.
The playing time aspect of it, and I'll touch on a little bit when I was coaching. I always had an honest conversation with players, And at the end of the day, a player knows
That's exactly right.
why they're not playing as much as they're not playing now. And what I would always do is if a parent, and I never really had a parent to question that, but I understand that's on a larger scale, football-wise. But I never had a parent to come and question it. But if there was ever a time, I would make sure that child, that player was right there. We're going to be honest about this. We're going to talk about it. And I want that child's input because that child knows exactly why they're not playing. And sometimes it's just patience. Be patient. I'm not going to put a person out who's not ready. Because at some point, you're going to put them in a bad situation that's not going to work out well for that player. So, but let me touch on, you've coached girls and boys. So I have to ask, what's the difference? Is there any difference? Maybe not, but what's the difference?
Well, the biggest difference that I've found in coaching girls and boys is that with boys, boys play more off athletic ability.
Right.
There are certain things that they're able to do that the young ladies are not able to do. And so the young ladies are a little more attentive to trying to do what is asked of them. You know, the only thing, the biggest difference is, you know, I believe they're athletes, so you coach them as athletes, but there's still a mannerism that you have to show a little difference with the young ladies than you do the guys, because, you know, emotions are more prevalent in the young ladies. And so we coach them hard, but at the same time, you know, we have to make certain that they're okay. When you get on them a little harder, you have to make certain that they're okay because of the emotional side.
I found that to be the same thing in coaching track. You know, you have to really toe the line as far as how you approach things and talk. It's not that you don't want to treat them any differently, but you want to make sure that they understand where you're coming from. Right. And the reason why you are trying to ask them to do it a certain way, and that's all. So I've seen that several times in having to coach track also. So you gave the answer that I figured would be the answer. So, but a lot of people might not remember we coached together.
That's right.
JV football.
That's correct.
So JV football. That was Fred Perkins, Freddie J and their team.
Ninth grade, actually.
Yeah, that's right. It was ninth grade football.
That's right.
And Robbie Hayes was with us out there.
That's
and my goodness, I'm gonna tell you, I don't hardly remember that was a quick year right there, you know. And whenever he decided to come out there and join us, basketball was first right there. But whenever he decided to come out there and join us, you know, and then give you input there, Coach Wilson, you know, whatever he would show up.
Right.
But it was a young set of athletes. But the one thing I remember about them, and this was actually before I went to Texas, I knew that they had a lot of potential, you know, because they were willing to listen.
That's right.
They were willing to listen. And they absorbed everything that we would tell them for the amount of time that we had them, which wasn't a long amount of time.
That's right.
But you could see them taking in every word that we would tell them. And at some point, you know, when they got up to be seniors, they were highly competitive, you know. But at that time, it was all about them focusing and listening. And that's something that I try to, and I talk to my son about. You know, these years go by fast. So you have to take this in the best that you can. But the main part about it is being in the moment. Focus, listen to what your coaches are saying. And then be able to reflect back on that, you know, whenever you need to. Do you think that's the case in this day and time?
I do.
Keeping the focus.
I do. And there are so many other things that can take their attention today. And you know, we try to stress to the young ladies all the time that you know, you gotta compete like every day is your last day, because you never know when this, you know, injury or anything can come up, and you never know. So when you practice, when you play, make certain when you leave the court, you can say that you've given your all. And those are the times you enjoy. The moments are a lot better when you know you put everything into it, and you don't have any reason to be wondering and concerned about, did I do all this, did I do that? And so it's important that I think the culture now with young people now, there's so many game playing and so many things like that are going on that sometimes it's hard to keep them focused. And so, you know, we had some groups there where we didn't have to worry about detail being taken care of. And now we have to do more of the detail taken care of, because the younger the longer we get into this, you don't have those type of leaders like we had with Tamil Stalling and Symphony Thompson. When we came in before a game, they were up talking about everything that we know that was in the scouting plan. And now, you know, you don't have those type of players anymore. So we have to spend a little more time with details. But the moment, being in the moment, you got to be ready for it. And we often talk to those on the bench. You know, it's not about starting. It's about who finishes the game. You know, that's when you know that the coach really trusts you when you're finishing the game. That's when you really know that you're one of the ones that they're trusting.
And you can only hope that because you have a young team. That's correct. You can only hope that those younger players get to the point where the Tamir Stallings and the Symphony Thompson, all of them were at that point, where you're basically just guiding. That's right. And you letting your older players do the leading. That's the perfect situation right there. So you wear many hats, church-wise, coaching-wise, both of them in leadership roles. How do you balance that? Because I find difficulty in balancing what I do and what I do in the church and things. And it kind of comes together a lot, you know. But how do you balance, or do you do a good enough job balancing it if you're honest with yourself?
It is tough.
Yeah.
It is super tough. And, you know, I spend a lot of whenever we have breaks, I spend a lot of that time with sermon prep and trying to prepare series for the year and those things. The week is you know, you got basketball. Once basketball starts, you know, everything's on top of each other. And after Sunday evening, after I take a nap, you know, I'm up preparing for Bible study. Then Monday and Tuesday Bible study. Then you know, sermon prep for a little period during those times. And then after Wednesday night, you right into sermon prep. So, and then you still got to make certain that you're taking care of basketball, scouting purposes and things like that. So when basketball season starts, it's tough. It's super tough. And, you know, I just, constant prayer that God would just, you know, help me get through it.
So imagine Sunday service, Monday, Tuesday got a game. Wednesday, Bible study. Thursday, Friday got a game. And then Saturday, Sunday, you ready all over again.
Exactly.
That's a lot.
Exactly.
That's a lot. You know, but what I found is you have to find a way to make time, you know, for yourself, or it'll all just build up on you and so on. And to be honest, I haven't done a great job in doing that. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. But I think where I've gotten better is recognizing when I'm at that point where I need to step back, you know, and that's when having good people at the church or good people on your staff where they can say, you know, you can say, hey, take this for me, you know, and using those individuals. And I have to be told myself, hey, you have people who are with you or under you. Allow those people to help you, you know, because I'm the type of person, and you might be too, you know, if I feel like if I don't do it, it's not going to get done correctly, you know, because at the end of the day, I'm responsible for it, you know, but that's the way we were raised, you know, do it yourself, take care of yourself. If you don't, then it won't get done the way you want to get done. But it is a new day and time, you know, where we have to really be careful about taking care of ourselves. So that's just, I was wanting to ask you that because I tend to be that way myself.
And it's over the years, those first few years of pastoring, like you said, you know, I wanted to make certain it was done.
Right.
These last few years, I kind of backed off a lot of things, not trying to be at every choir practice, not trying to be at every event, you know, because, you know, it's a wear and tear.
Yeah.
And trusting the people that you put in place to make certain things are done. And so over the years, things have gotten better as far as being able to know that responsibilities are going to be taken care of, and you don't have to worry about them as much.
Right. Now, you've been in education how many years?
33.
33 years. I'm going to get there one day. You know, I'm going to get there one day, but you're really at the point where you know, you say, hey, I've done so much, you know. What continues to motivate you to show up each day to do what you do?
The love for the children. Want to see children be successful, wanting to see children be able to grow in society. Right. You know, when I first started out, you know, college, my mind was made up. I was going to be computer data processing, and so that's what I was going to do. And
I didn't know that.
Yes, that's what that was my mind. That was what my mind was telling me. My pocket was telling me. That's what my pocket was telling me. And so you know, one evening I was in the computer lab and could not find that, you know, that program error. Could not find that program error in the computer lab. And I said, you know what? This is not for me.
This is it.
And so I left. I gave the paper and everything to somebody who was in the computer lab. Next morning, went to change my major to education. And everybody in my family was in education. But you know, I was thinking money. I was thinking money, and but I thank God that He showed me that this is where I need to be, and it has been nothing but blessings since then.
We have similar paths. because I started off in mass communication. I took one class my freshman year in mass communication, and that was it. and basically, you know, I was dodging being in education because my mom was a teacher.
Right.
I don't want to do that. You know, that's what I was saying. My dad was in criminal justice. I don't want to do that. I see the hours he put in, people always coming by and knocking on the door and stuff. My bachelor's degree is in criminal justice, and my other degree is in education. So I spend a lifetime running right to what I was trying to, you know, dodge the whole time. But you said something about the kids basically driving you and keeping you going. 33 years in, you can do what you want to do, basically. But to be able to say, you know, I want to continue to see our kids be successful. And people talk about all the time about how things are different, how kids are different, and things change. But at the end of the day, something that hasn't changed is the fact that kids desire leadership, they desire guidance. And anybody who's willing to do that, I encourage them to do so, because you just don't know the impact you can have on these kids and the lives you can change. With all just maybe even just one conversation.
That's right.
You know, just one conversation itself, of being able to just asking, how are you doing? You know, and that's, if you're not in this field for that reason, then you're in the wrong field.
That's right.
So I totally agree with you from that stance there. So now I'm getting more of a personal level.
Okay.
Just personal level. Tell me, what's your favorite meal?
All right. Collard greens, fried pork chop, mashed potatoes, and hot water cornbread.
Hot water cornbread. Hot water cornbread. So a lot of people around here don't understand what hot water cornbread is, but I was able to get exposed to it when I was working in Louisiana. I got Louisiana ties to Alexandria, where my mom's from, my grandmother, that side of my family. And so hot water cornbread in itself, when I got back here, I'm like, anybody can do hot water cornbread? No, what you talking about, hot water cornbread? Well, hot water cornbread, if you don't know, look it up. I'm not going to try to explain it to you, but if you never had it, you're cheating yourself. So check that out there. So my next question is, favorite leisure thing to do away from, you know, here, away from when you're at home or whatever you do?
Well, golf has always been my favorite leisure time, but I don't get to play as much as I would like.
Okay.
Yeah, golf is my favorite leisure time.
What you all don't know, he's being humble. This cat's one of the best golfers I've ever been around right here. And I'm one of the worst golfers that I know. I got a slice. Now, I've talked about this before. I'm a right slicer because I like hearing how the ball comes off the tee. I try to kill the ball, y'all, and it never goes straight. It goes all the way to the right, you know. But relaxing thing to do right there. To be able to go out there on the course, on the links and so on, as they say, and play a few holes. I've always been envious of people who could play golf, you know, and I tried, you know, but I let it go. I was real about it, and I said, I'm wasting my time doing this.
I understand.
So I'll watch it, you know, and I'll watch it on TV. I enjoy it that much because I think the skill set is so tremendous to be able to get that little white ball in that hole. But as far as me playing, I don't do it anymore. So anyway, favorite book? Don't say the Bible. You about to say the Bible?
I was about to say the Bible.
All right, go ahead.
Of course, the Bible is where I spend most of my reading time now.
Okay.
But there was a book by Tony Dungy.
Okay.
I can't remember the name. That
I have his books, and I'm probably sure I know the name of it.
yeah,
Too.
with it's got his face in the
Yeah.
but I can't remember the name of it. But the Bible is where I spend most of my time reading now. That's definitely because I got to.
Right.
I have to.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you know, when you're able to get home and decompress and so on, that one thing you like doing, that one show you like watching, or whatever, that one thing you like doing, what is that? You know.
I love the old shows.
Right.
So I can watch a series of good times for all night long. And so the old shows, good times, Gunsmoke. You know, those are things that I like to watch when I'm winding down.
I get in trouble because I could watch Sanford and Son every night. And I tend to do that. But it comes on so late. You know, I'm talking about midnight. It comes on midnight and stays on till about 2. And then Good Times comes on. I shouldn't know all this. But I do, you know, because, you know, I should be in bed. But sometimes that's the only thing that'll relax you is on. You got to have the things that will relax you because of what you do. You know, it involves so much for you to put into it. So I encourage everyone out there, find something that allows you to relax, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a book or anything like that, and allow it, you know, to be a part of your day, you know. So anything else you want to add before we end?
No, I'm just thankful that to be working in Brookhaven School District, and you know, our friendship has always been a close friendship that we've had for years, and just look forward to retiring here at some point, and hopefully that you still be here when I retire. If not, we know we'll be in the area.
It's day by day, my brother.
But
It's day by day.
Brookhaven is a great place
Yeah.
to work. My wife, you know, when she came, of course, it was something that she was not certain of because she had not really been out of Shreveport.
She's from Shreveport,
And so, but it's a great place. You know, we enjoy it here. You know, it's a place where I plan to retire, and you know, and just looking forward to those days when I can just come back and enjoy watching,
Right.
and not necessarily having to spend the time coaching.
So indeed, Brookhaven is one place that will take you and put their arms around you and just take you in. It's always been like that. So, you know, to hear you say that, I totally understand that. And what I want to end with is to tell you how appreciative I am of you and what you've done for this district over the years. The programs that you put out there, the teams that you put out there, first class. You're not going to see a more disciplined team, a more first-class team. These kids, whether they were the boys or the girls, they play with enthusiasm. They play with just great sportsmanship also. And that's something you don't see all the time. So I tell our coaches all the time, that's what I want. You know, wins and losses will come. But if you could put a team out there that's first class, that plays with enthusiasm, that plays with good sportsmanship, wins and losses will take care of themselves. So that's what I want to tell you. I appreciate that, bro.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
right.
sir. So that concludes our latest episode of the Panther Podcast. I want to thank Coach Wilson for being on with us. And keep in mind that it's always a great day to be a Panther.
Thanks for tuning in to the Panther Podcast. Subscribe, like, and share to be notified for future episodes. We'll talk to you soon.